Hello and welcome to Witchy Woman Podcast. I am your host, Danae Sweet, and this is Season 5, Episode 9. Today we're going to talk about psychic herbs and the 9 herbs charm. But first, I kind of wanted to run something by you. I have been thinking about ways to have some kind of action towards what's going on in our country right now. I donate when I can. I find organizations that I want to support, and I do that. And I want to go to protests, but I live in like the middle of fucking nowhere, so there's not any protests that are very close very often. So I was trying to think of things besides supporting financially, which I do when I can. But I want to do more. So I feel like the witch community, I'm seeing a lot of witches talk about doing group spells and all of these things. And I think that's great. And I think, let me run this by you. So what if we created, like maybe on Discord, we create a main group for like wishes for resistance or something like that. I haven't decided what. Anyway, so we have like a group on Discord where we can talk and share spells and like schedule spells. And then what if we broke out into, underneath of that, we had separate rooms for, or chats or whatever you call it, I'm old, for all of the states. So like Nebraska would have its own, Colorado would have its own. And then I get a moderator for every state. And in the main group, we plan our group spells that we do, like the main ones, the big ones. But then in each state, we focus on our local and state representatives that we feel like need to be at the end of some witchcraft. What if we did that? And then every state would focus on like their representatives that are being shitheads or whatever. What if we did that? And then to go along with it, if we do a spell, I want it to be like a rule that you have to do something mundane, whether that's making phone calls to your representatives, sending letters to your representatives, maybe donating clothing to an organization that you want to support, like donating things, whatever. Maybe going and volunteering to help out at your local like food bank or that sort of thing. Like do something mundane to give back to your community and to help make things better. So instead of just doing witchcraft, which is great, we follow it up with something in the mundane world that we can do to help humanity, help our community, whatever that is. And we decide in each, states group or whatever. Anyway, I don't have a full picture of it yet, but I feel like this would be a great way to organize it and to actually get like stuff done instead of just throwing spells at every, whatever, just everything's chaos and we're not organized. What if we organize and do this methodically? But also it's a rule. If you cast a spell, if we're going to do witchy shit, you have to do the mundane stuff. So if you have the means, if it's accessible to you, I totally get that sometimes it's just not. Like I'm in the middle of fucking nowhere, so there's not really many protests I can go to. But there is stuff I can do for the like area that I live in. I could donate my time. I can donate clothing. I can, help make phone calls to my representatives, send postcards, and whatever. So anyway, I want you guys to chew on that a little bit and see how you feel about it. And I will, in the next little bit, I'm going to post some things on like Instagram, I think, to see if anybody would be interested. And this is not like a paid thing. This is like a witches for resistance type movement. So anyway, so I think that would be cool. Anyway, hey, so let's get into this. So one of the things that witches online send to my DMs or my email, besides love questions, like that's a given, but it's psychic stuff. How can I develop my intuition? How can I become more psychic? How can I make my tarot readings more accurate, or, get more in that like divination vibe? And herbs, besides like having a really great meditation practice or some kind of mindfulness practice to help you still the mind so that you can focus on your intuition, herbs are my favorite way to amplify and kind of boost what we already have, that like innate ability to do divination. Then add an herb to the mix, and I think it's really, really effective. What I'm going to do is talk about some of my favorite herbs and the herbs that I'm seeing online that were the most prevalent, that different witches and groups and cultures talked about as far as using those herbs for the purpose of psychic development and like boosting our intuition. Since the dawn of time, humans have looked to plants not just as food or for medicine, but as gateways to other worlds. So these 3 herbs, Mugwort, Eyebright, and Star Anise, each carry centuries of magical tradition tied to divination, vision, and prophecy. Okay, as always, I'm not a doctor. I don't claim to be giving you any medical advice. Please always do your research or ask your doctor before consuming, smoking, or working with any herbs. We're going to start with my favorite herb, Mugwort, or the witch's herb. The name Artemisia vulgaris ties it to Artemis, the Greek goddess of the moon and wild places. Artemis was believed to protect travelers and women, and Mugwort was worn in garlands on midsummer nights for protection. Mugwort smoke is like, a ritual doorway. It helps loosen your conscious mind and lets the subconscious and spirit world just speak louder. Whether in dreams, at night, or visions during divination, for centuries, witches and mystics have burned it to invite visions, used it to line dream pillows with, and brewed it as a tea before prophecy or astral travel. As a little side note about Mugwort, I do want to stress that this is an herb that, if ingested or smoked, could be dangerous to pregnant people. It also interacts with certain prescription medicines, so please do your research before using this herb. So let's continue. In Anglo-Saxon England, Mugwort was considered one of the most powerful plants. The 9 Herbs charm was a 10th century magical medical text, and it names Mugwort first, calling it the oldest of herbs and a protector against evil. And if you stay to the end of this episode, I'll tell you what those 9 herbs are and a bit about the ritual. In China and Japan, Mugwort was and still is burned in moxibustion, where dried mugwort is lit near acupuncture points to heal and to drive out negative energies. When I looked up what it looked like, it kind of looks like, those cones of incense, those little ones? It kind of looks like a pile of mugwort cone thingies on like their back or wherever they're doing the thing, and they burn it. This kind of treatment definitely has some pretty strong spiritual undertones to it, and I think that's pretty cool. In European folklore, mugwort placed in shoes was said to protect travelers from fatigue and wild animals, but also from evil spirits on the road. Mugwort is also used in dreams and prophecies. Mugwort is often called the dream herb because of how consistently it stirs up the dream world. Its smoke seems to thin the veil between waking and sleeping, so dreams can come. If you use this, whether you smoke it or maybe put it in a little bag underneath your pillow, mugwort can make more vivid dreams, more intense imagery, colors, and storylines. It could also create prophetic dreams that feel very symbolic or predictive. They can also assist in lucid dreaming, and that's when you have the awareness that you're dreaming, sometimes with control over your dream. So definitely something that you can use if you are somebody who works with your dreams. Mugwort is also often used in divination. Burned as an incense during tarot, runes, or scrying, mugwort smoke is said to clear distractions and tune the reader's inner sight. It acts almost like a psychic antenna booster, sharpening your intuition. Some practitioners will inhale a little bit of the smoke before a session to center themselves and like drop yourself into more of a receptive state. Again, like any smoke, it can irritate the lungs, especially if you're sensitive. So it's best used sparingly in ritual rather than as a habit. And also contact your doctor. If you have any health concerns, please contact your doctor before you're just smoking a new herb, okay? Always source your mugwort that's free of pesticides or roadside contamination. I cannot tell you how many people I see around here that are like tourists and they drive by and we'll drive by them like on the highway and they're picking herbs from the sides of these roads, which sounds fine. However, these are plants that have 100% had pesticides on them. So I would never burn those herbs because you're going to be burning that pesticide with it. So I don't know. Be careful how you source your herbs especially if you're ingesting them or smoking them. Let's move on to the next herb, and it is called Eyebright, and it's commonly thought of as the herb of second sight. Its Latin name, Euphrasia officinalis, comes from the Greek word Euphrosyne. I had to make sure I got that right, which is the goddess of joy and cheer. And she is one of the three graces in mythology. This connects Eyebright to joy, clarity, and inspiration. In medieval Europe, Eyebright was a commonly known remedy for different eye ailments. Physicians believed that like cures like, because Eyebright's tiny little flowers kind of look like eyes, so it was thought to cure them. This is called the doctrine of signatures. This link between physical eyesight and second sight just kind of made it a natural choice for people who do divination practices. Scottish and Irish folklore. Jesus, I can't speak today, so I'm not even gonna erase this. Scottish and Irish folklore, there we go, did it right, tells of seers carrying Eyebright or infusing it in water, then anointing their eyelids to open clairvoyance. Some tales even suggest it allowed mortals to see the fairy realm. Am I recommending that you put some kind of herb water or something on your eyes or eyelids? No. We have sensitive skin around our eyes especially, so please don't do that. If you do, you. I suggested you don't. Maybe just, put it in your hands and, stare at it or, focus on it. You could put it in a little bag or something, or put it in, I don't know. Put it in something and then put that something on your eye. That way there's a barrier, okay? In Renaissance England, poets like Milton referenced Eyebright as a plant that clears the vision, both literal and metaphorical. So some of the magical uses that I looked at, that I saw is called a seer's herb used for sharpening clairvoyance, aiding in scrying, and bringing psychic insight, is the info I found on Eyebright. And the reason I picked that one is it's one that I had not really worked with much, and I found it really interesting, and I don't know, I was called to it, so that's what we're learning about. I had mugwort because mugwort's the most popular one, and people, I think it's a really nice herb to work with, but I wanted to put in some divination type herbs that I don't normally see, and then these other ones I picked, I just thought they were unique and I don't normally see them. References this as working as a divination herb, so that's why you're going to have the next one is Star Anise. This herb I saw referenced as the seer's spice. So it's native to China and Vietnam. Star anise has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for thousands of years to treat ailments and strengthen the body. But its distinctive star shape also gave it symbolic power. Known as a psychic amplifier, The shape itself symbolizes balance and vision, making it a popular place on altars during scrying, tarot, or spiritual work. The star has long been considered a mystical shape, and in Western occultism, it represents the elements and divine protection. When Europeans encountered Star Anise, though, through trade in the 16th century, they adopted it not just as a spice, but as a magical talisman. In some Eastern folk practices, Star Anise was carried as a charm against the evil eye, thought to both ward off harm and open the psychic senses. In some branches of folk magic, it's included in little bags for luck in gambling, but also for psychic protection when performing divination. I thought it would be nice to do a little ritual with all three of these herbs. So let's bring them all together for some kind of like mini divination ritual. So you're going to prepare your space, however you do that, to do whatever divination you're going to do. So if you're going to do, I'm going to use the example of like tarot or oracle cards. So prepare your space, clean it up, make sure you have a nice quiet time to do this in. So you're going to burn these herbs in a heat-safe dish with a lit charcoal disc. So light that, make sure it's nice and hot before you put your herbs on. Make sure you have a heat-safe container to do this in. Please do not hurt yourself or burn down your house. So sprinkle these herbs, Mugwort and Eyebright, on top of the lit and hot and white charcoal disc. And then we're going to let it just sit for a while. You're going to talk to the herbs, ask the mugwort to open up your, second sight. Ask it to help you with your divination as well. Same thing. Ask the Eyebright to do the same thing. And then you're going to place the Star Anise pod near your tarot deck or on top or whatever divination tool you have. Let's put some Star Anise pod or pods, physically touch it with that. And you're going to set your intention. So you're going to tell that Star Anise to help you thin the veil, help you focus your divination, but also protect you while you're divinating. And an optional step would be to anoint your third eye. Let's not put it on our eyeballs. Anoint your third eye with basically some Eyebright tea. Or you can just hold the Eyebright in your hand and really, really focus on your third eye when you think about it, just to symbolically open up your inner sight. And then you're going to work your divination. Ask your question, open yourself up, and, you do your spread. Get the cards out and pull cards, whatever spread or thing that you have pre-chosen, and then journal about it. See how that kind of mini ritual with your divination felt as opposed to no ritual. Did you like the way the herbs made you feel? What was it like to work with those herbs? Just kind of journal about the experience. Okay, if you have stayed this long, now we get to do the 9 herbs charm. So what is it? The 9 herbs charm, not charb. I don't know where that came from. Charm is one of the oldest surviving magical incantations from Anglo-Saxon England. It's part spell, part prayer, and part recipe, calling in 9 sacred plants to drive out poison, illness, and even spiritual harm. The 9 herbs charm is preserved in a 10th century manuscript called the Lacnunga, an Old English collection of medical and magical remedies. The title means remedies in Old English, and it dates to be around the 10th or early 11th century, though the remedies are probably much older than that. It's a patchwork collection of herbal recipes, charms, incantations, prayers, and folk healing practices. The text is in Old English, Latin, and Old Irish, showing just how Anglo-Saxon medicine mixed local pagan and cultural traditions, Christian prayer, and older Celtic influence. The manuscript itself is held in the British Library. It even invokes the god Woden, the Anglo-Saxon version of Odin, who is described as striking a serpent with 9 herbs to drive out poison. Interesting, huh? The herbs themselves were not just seen as medicine, but as living magical beings with power and agency. This is a beautiful example of how early medieval folk saw no separation between magic, medicine, and faith. What exactly were the 9 herbs? Different translations give slightly different plant names, but most agree on the following. So we have mugwort, the oldest of herbs, protector and visionary. Plantain, or whey bread, strong against wounds and bruises. Lamb's cress, healing and cleansing herb. Nettle, fiery and for banishing illnesses. Chamomile, or mayweed, is soothing and healing. Crabapple, which is restorative and linked to vitality. Chervil, which I think is like related to parsley, but it is thought of as a gentle healer. Fennel, which is protective and cleansing. And the last one, there was different sources was like, well, it's not known, it's an unknown herb, and some said stoon, or hairy bittercress, and it's used to combat poison, infection, and loathsome foes. So what did they do with all of these herbs? So this is how it was performed historically. So they would start with singing the charm. This is like an incantation 3 times over each herb and the apple, the crab apple, before preparing or doing anything. So then so after they did that, they would grind the 9 herbs into a powder. They would then mix that powder with old soap and crabapple juice to form like a salve. Sounds delightful. They'd create a paste then with water and ashes and boil that in fennel and then blend that into the salve that they just made with the old soap and crabapple juice. They would then sing the charm into the patient's mouths, ears, and the wound itself before they put the salve on the patient's wound. So then they would put it in the wound after they sang that charm again, bathing it in egg mixture both before and after. Ew. I just don't like the idea of putting like raw egg on me. I'm imagining it like you put an egg wash on like when you bake. That's what I'm thinking of. So I'm assuming that's what it is. I don't know. This is a charm, or this was a spell basically, or a prayer to heal the sick, to heal a wound, or to drive out somebody's like demons or, spiritual cleansing basically. I do want to talk just a little bit about the folkloric and historical context of this charm. It's very interesting because it's not solely pagan or Christian. The charm blends pagan tradition and Christian faith into its healing verses. And I just think that's cool that they had something that was both. The incantation emphasizes the symbolic power of numbers in Germanic magic, especially 3, 7, and 9. And that's found throughout this charm, this hymn, this incantation. Woden's mythic act of splitting a serpent with 9 twigs represents breaking the power of poison, and that is mirrored in the charm's purpose to counter illnesses. So how could we adapt this to, use it today? So you could use it for magical cleansing. Burn the 9 herbs together as an incense during a cleansing or a protection ritual. You could use them in healing spells, make a tea or tincture with safe herbs to ingest only, and recite the charm over it. You could do a protective charm, carry dried versions of the 9 herbs in a pouch, whispering the charm as you craft it. You could use it for dream work and divination. Use mugwort as like the anchor herb for the main part of the divination, and chant the verse before bed or before divination. The 9 herbs charm is one of those rare surviving pieces of ancient magic where we get to hear the voice of a folk healer from over 1,000 years ago. It blows my mind. It's equal parts spell, prayer, and herbal recipe, and a living bridge between medicine and magic. So, tell me, what is your favorite herb out of all of these that you are most excited to try to work with? If you are following along as if you are in witch school, if you're following along as if you are taking my class, your assignment for this would be to pick one of these herbs and really deep dive. Pick one of the 9 herbs or one of the 3 that I had mentioned before, and really deep dive. Decide if you want to work with this herb. Maybe you decide you want to grow it. Find some seeds and grow this herb and really develop a relationship with it. So that's your assignment. Google it, learn about it, put it in your book of shadows. And then after you've learned about it, decide whether you want to maybe take a step further and go get some seeds, grow it, or go online and see if you can find some to get to. I want to say Star West Botanicals has like organic versions of quite a bit of their herbs. So that's, if you're going to ingest or smoke, I would only go with organic and ask them, hey, make sure that it's good for ingestion or smoking. If you are in the Coven, we're going to be doing the 9 herbs charm, and I'm waiting on 2 of the herbs to get here because during all the construction shit, I pretty much don't have, I don't have my live plants anymore. I have seeds to regrow some of them, but I don't have a couple of these in the 9 herbs charm that I need. So I had to order them. So I'm waiting for them. When they get here, I'm going to do a spell tutorial on the whole charm, including the incantation. The charm, the incantation itself is rather long, so I'm going to say it here at the end of this in case you guys just don't want to hear it, because it is kind of long. Okay, here's the charm. Remember, Mugwort, what you made known, what you arranged at the great proclamation. You were called Una, the oldest of herbs. You have the power against 3 and against 30. You have the power against poison and against infection. You have power against the loathsome foe roving through the land. And you, Plantain, mother of herbs, open from the east, mighty inside. Over your chariots creaked, over you queens rode. Brides cried out, over you bulls snorted. You withstood all of them, you dashed against them. May you likewise withstand poison and infection and the loathsome foe roving through your land. Stoon is the name of this herb. It grew on a stone. It stands up against poison. It dashes against poison. Nettle, or its source, is called. It attacks against poison. It drives out the hostile one. It casts out poison. This is the herb that fought against the serpent, and it has power against poison. It has power against infection. It has power against the loathsome foe roving through your land. Put to flight now, you venom loather, the greater poisons, though you are the lesser, until he is cured of both. Remember, chamomile, what you made known, what you accomplished at Allerford, that never a man should lose his life from infection, after chamomile was prepared for his food. This is the herb that is called Wurgulu, a seal scented across the sea right, a vexation to poison, a help to others. It stands against pain, it dashes against poison. A worm came crawling, and it killed nothing. For Wooden took 9 glory twigs. He smote the adder, that it flew apart into 9 parts. There the apple accomplished it against poison, that she, the loathsome serpent, would never dwell in the house. Chervil and Fennel, 2 of much might. They were created by the wise Lord, holy in heaven as he hung. He set and sent them to the 7 worlds, to the wretched and the fortunate, as a help to all. It stands against pain, it fights against poison, it avails against 3 and against 30, against foe's hand and against noble scheming, against enchantment of vile creatures. Now the 9 herbs have power against 9 evil spirits, against 9 poisons, against 9 infections, against the red poison, against the foul poison, against the white poison, against the pale blue poison, against the yellow poison, against the green poison, against the black poison, against the blue poison, against the brown poison, against the crimson poison, against the worm blister, against water blister, against thorn blister, against thistle blister, against ice blister, against poison blister. If any poison comes flying from the east, or any from the north, or from the south, or any from the west, among the people, Christ stood over diseases of every kind. I alone know a running stream, and the 9 adders beware of it. May all the weeds spring up from their roots, the seas slip apart, all salt water, when I blow this poison from you. That was fucking long. To be honest, I would not be able to have the patience to recite that whole fucking thing by memory. My ADHD could never. I am going to recreate this thing. We're going to do it, but I really don't, I'm just going to make the salve. I'm not going to actually use it on anybody, but I thought it'd be fun to recreate it. Since you have stayed this long, let me draw a card for you. We're drawing from the Witch's Wisdom Oracle card deck. I don't know why, I'm just hyper fixated on this thing lately. So, and I just did my nails, so I'm not going to be able to shuffle as well yet. It always takes me a few days to like get used to having claws again. Whoa. One just flew out, so that's the one we're going to use. All right. My intention was, I asked the deck, what's the thing that we need to know the most to get us through the next 2 weeks? And this is, this card is called the Witch's Hat and then Power. And it is a really pretty drawing of like a selfie, basically, of like a witch with a beautiful, pointy hat and, a pentacle and some other things on it. But her aura is what I'm looking at. It's like orange and yellow and green and blue, and it is absolutely beautiful. I think this card is telling us to recognize our power. Look within. Don't underestimate yourself. Our witch's power is something that we can always lean on. And I find that sometimes we second guess ourselves. Like I'm more likely to like trust someone else's divination or someone else's spell sometimes, instead of owning my power as a witch. So own it, okay? In the book, they have like a cute little incantation for each card, and I wanted to read this one for you. So, repeats from the past hold you in fear. They keep you back when you're so near. Your strength reclaimed grows by the hour. Now step back into your self-power. This magic is worked with harm to none, so mote it be, there it is done. All right, next week, we have, I think, if I remember right, don't like hold me to it, but I think we are going to talk about the different kinds of magic. So sympathetic magic, chaos magic, and we're going to talk about the theories of how they work and just talk about them. We're also, I think, going to talk about a little bit of a gratitude practice or ritual to add into your Book of Shadows. I think that's it. So until next time, stay witchy. Bye-bye.